and welcome to Media Lit, where we treat each piece of media like great literature. I am your host, Randy Elaine, and joining me as always, with beautiful new lighting tonight and an extra luscious beard, it is the wonderful, the scholarly Kris Ingersoll. Kris, how you doing tonight?
I'm blushing now, buddy. So good. Really excited to be here. Spoiler for the folks who didn't read the episode title and description. We've got two fantastic guests who are brand new to the pod, which is always one of my very favorite things. So really thrilled for tonight. Now that I finished all of the shoveling. How are you, buddy?
Feeling so good, yes. As a fellow resident of Massachusetts, I've been digging out for the last few days. I've got several feet of snow piled up next to the driveway. I don't think our guests are dealing with that same problem at the moment.
No.
But more on that in just a moment. Because before I introduce our special guests, I almost forgot that it is my turn to beg you to like and follow the pod. That's something we promise to do every episode in season 3. Is to beg you not only to follow us wherever you get your podcasts, but also to reach out to us via email at media.slash.lit@gmail.com. We'd love to hear your feedback on the show. We'd love to hear the other topics that you want to talk about. And as Agent Mulder might say, the pod is out there. So please find us and chat with us. Now, you may recall back in season 1, we had a chat with our good pal Madison, who you may also recall from our Rilo Kiley episode. And she introduced us to just the depths of X-Files fandom, what that show meant to her. And we dug into one of the legendary sort of side episodes in Small Potatoes. Just after that episode, I think actually even in the episode itself, Madison said, if you loved this episode, the next episode you watch should be Bad Blood. And sure enough, we decided to go with that episode, but we have some incredibly special guests tonight. I had the pleasure of meeting these two fine folks during a live Severance table read via Zoom. Together, we portrayed the members of the MDR team from Severance. We kind of read the original lost pilot script from the first vision of what Severance would become. I found a couple of kindred souls who really love everything about television and pop culture. So I am proud to introduce Xandra Michele and Pete Richards. Folks, how are you doing tonight? Thank you for joining us.
We are honored to be here. Thank you for having us.
Doing fantastic.
MDR back together.
Yes, MDR.
Absolutely.
Together again.
Praise Kier, indeed.
Praise here, indeed.
Now, if anyone's checking out our video content, you might think that we have Dana Scully herself in the room with us. But this is, in fact, Xandra, who's not only a great actress, a great performer, a great friend, but also does the most incredible Scully cosplay of all time. From the dress to the voice, it's all there. Xandra, before we go any deeper into this pod, I've got to know, how did you get so deep into this Scully fandom that you really live the character on social media?
Yes, thank you, first of all, for your kind words. That means the world to me. I've been cosplaying for, I want to say it's been 14 years now. And in all of the time that I've cosplayed, I've had characters that, mean a lot to me. I've done Princess Leia, who means the world to me. I've done a lot of Winona Ryder's characters. Winona is a huge influence on my acting career personally. But nothing has quite stuck the landing like Scully has, both for me as a creator and for me also on social media and even in public, at conventions. We went to Albuquerque Comic-Con, which is a very small con, all things considered, 2 weeks ago now. And I mean, I just kept getting stopped and people were getting taken aback by me. They're like, oh my God, we thought you were Gillian Anderson, which I love because first of all, that means my cosplay is good enough that you thought it was 1997 because she does not look, she's not a redhead anymore. And second of all, just obviously the biggest compliment ever because she's so gorgeous and so talented. But it really all started. I had been a blonde for a long time. I was actually a blonde because of Pluribus, which I just appeared in. And if you haven't watched Pluribus yet, for anybody listening, do it. It's fantastic. Especially if you love Vince Gilligan, who also ties back to the X-Files, of course. We love him. I had decided that I wanted to try out red hair for the first time. And the easiest way to do that, of course, was going to be to go from blonde to red, as opposed to starting darker and then going to red. It's a much easier process that way.
Yeah.
And we had just started watching the X-Files. It was something that kind of was always in the background of my life. I was born in DC in 1994. And my mom was a huge, huge X-File. In fact, a lot of my magazines here and stuff I inherited from her. So it was always something that was being talked about. All of the locations, especially in DC, like the J. Edgar Hoover building, like I've walked by millions of times. And it just felt very homey right away. You know, it felt very familiar. And then as we were diving into it, it was around Halloween, and I was like, oh, we should be Mulder and Scully for Halloween. That would be so fun. And I did like a test run, if you will, of Scully, and Pete was like, oh my God, you like really look like her. And I was like, oh, thanks. He's like, no, like you really do. And sure enough, a lot of other people thought so too. And it's just been so fun to dive into really just such a unique and amazing character that has so much depth that we get to see such an emotional journey of throughout all of the seasons of the show. And just getting to learn her story and tell that story. The biggest compliment I can say that I get on my social media is when people tell me that I'm keeping the original version of Scully alive, because
Beautiful.
Yeah, if I can have the honor to do that, that's amazing. So here I am.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that. And as I mentioned earlier, Xandra's not here alone. I mentioned we've got all of MDR here. I had the pleasure to portray Irving. Xandra portrayed Helly. And Pete was an incredible Dylan, captured both the frustration and snark of that character, but also the warmth. Pete, thank you so much for being here. I know that you can't have a Scully without a Mulder, and you have donned the government issue suit, if I'm not mistaken. So tell me a little bit about your cosplay and acting history as well.
Yeah, so acting history, I sort of started getting thrown on camera by chance. I like to say by accident. Xandra's always like, no, it's not by accident. But I think my first real like acting thing was when I met Xandra at Halloween Horror Nights, and then of course we worked on Stranger Things together. And then cosplay has sort of been something I've been very nervous about for a long time, and we've sort of found, or at least I've found, my sort of cosplay niche, I guess, if you will. It's basically people in suits. So whether it's from Severance, whether it's Better Call Saul, now it's Mulder, and yeah, it's just, we just sort of just come up with some fun stuff. We try it out, and then, we see what sticks, basically.
Perfect. Well, it's an honor to have both of you here. Kris, I jumped all over the outline. I jumped all over your introduction of our X-Files topic. But I was curious if you had anything to add before we dive into the next phase, or if you've continued your X-Files journey since 2 years ago with Small Potatoes.
Yeah, happy to come off mic for just a little bit. I wanted to clarify for the folks at home, in case they hadn't caught on yet, that we were talking about the X-Files tonight. It's not just a coincidence that we have these fantastic cosplayers with us. And yeah, this is the second time that we as Media Lit have had the chance to dive into the X-Files. Really excited for the episode at hand, a top-rated episode amongst the bunch. But no, Randy, I have not kept up with the X-Files since then. So this was my second X-Files viewing of all time, and it was a doozy. It was a blasty blast.
Well, beautiful. Well, we had a chance, like I said, 2 years ago to talk with Madison about her connection with the X-Files, but it's time to hear a little bit more from our guests. I already kind of jumped ahead into the cosplay and the fandom of it all. But we did want to dig a little bit deeper into your personal connection. So, Kris, I think I'll hand it right back over to you.
Yeah, so I mean, we heard that the show kind of came first. It was upon a watch that you were inspired then to pursue this cosplay. But I'd be curious about your other fandom. It goes much deeper than X-Files, as does your cosplaying. You mentioned a couple of characters that you've portrayed. Could you get a little bit more specific for us? I'd love to hear some of the icons that you have put together. In fact, let's go to you first, Pete. I know you said you're in suits. You named a couple. Anybody that you really want to highlight?
Yes. So Jimmy McGill, because as just how things happen, I'm kind of Jimmy McGill in
He really
reality. And so like going with the whole Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul thing, all tying back, of course, to Vince Gilligan. So when we moved to Albuquerque 4 years ago is when we finally both were like, okay, we hear about Breaking Bad. We live in the city where it's filmed, and we're so many
Well,
other
you had
awesome
seen
things.
Breaking Bad.
I saw Breaking Bad when I was like 14 or 15, right after it finished coming out, 2 years after it wrapped. I did not have the brain that was, my brain was not well formed enough to really appreciate it for what it was. So it wasn't until we came out here, first time we were here in Albuquerque, I was like, okay, we've got to sit down and start watching this show. And that was when we came out to film for Stranger Things. And we fell in love with Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul even more. And that sort of gave us we started meeting a lot of people out here in New Mexico. And so all the people on my tours working for the Breaking Bad RV tours, if I hadn't mentioned, a friend of ours who runs the RV tour out here in New Mexico, started working for him about 8 months ago. And all the people in my tours, I run the private tours. So it's usually a very small group of people, anywhere from 2 to 6. It's a lot more intimate of an environment. It's not like a big tour bus or the RV where the video's going. So people talk and want to ask a lot more questions, get a lot more involved in the tour. They've always said, have you seen Vince Gilligan's first big project, The X-Files? And I've always said, no, I haven't. I've been meaning to. And finally, what was it, October, a little bit before October, I came home and I was like, okay, this is like the 9th person who said I have to watch The X-Files. So we finally sat down and turned it on. And by episode 2, it was like, okay, there's something to this show. And then by the time we got to episode 3, it was like, okay, yeah, this is good. This is good.
Yeah.
Very, very cool. What about you, Xandra? I would love to hear about some of your favorite roles that you've portrayed, either professionally or even just in cosplay.
Yeah, thank you. So going back to what Pete said earlier, we did meet at Halloween Horror Nights at Universal Studios Hollywood, working as scare actors in 2019. And I think I can speak for both Pete and I when I say that was one of the best times of our life. We just had a blast. Everybody who was in the maze that we worked in, we just had so much fun every night. And the maze we were in was Stranger Things. And I actually got cast to play the one and only Joyce Byers, originated by Winona Ryder.
Nice.
And it was just, I wanted the role so badly and I worked so hard for it. And when I got cast, it was just everything about it from that moment on was so serendipitous. I mean, the experiences we had, and then obviously meeting my soulmate, it just was perfect. And then the next year at Horror Nights, this is one of my favorite roles that I've played that I don't believe anybody who doesn't know me would ever guess that I would play. And even people who do know me probably wouldn't guess. But I actually had the great honor of playing Father Merrin in The Exorcist the next year.
Wow.
I wore a full silicone mask and full priest garb. And I was 5'3". Max von Sydow was 6'4". So I was a condensed Father Merrin, but nobody ever said anything. And it was just so fun to play a role that I would never play any other time. So that was amazing. And then as far as theater goes, because that's what my background's in, that's what my degree is in. I have had the honor of playing some really incredible roles out here on stage in Albuquerque. I was Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz, which
Beautiful.
iconic. Love Judy Garland, of course. Also a huge inspiration. I was Kira in Xanadu. That was probably my favorite role I've done, just because not only do I love Olivia Newton-John and Yellow, but I also got to roller skate. So, I mean, what's better than that? And
On
then
stage, no less.
on stage, yes.
Wow.
Oh, it was amazing. It was amazing. And that was another thing like Universal, where everybody in the cast was just so on point and we just had a great time. And it was just a blast. And I always say the reason why I love cosplay is coming from a theater background. You get to play director almost. You get to cast yourself in whatever role you want to be. You get to costume yourself however you want and get to take it as far or as little as you want. So some of my other favorite cosplays I've done, definitely Princess Leia. I'm also a member of the Rebel Legion, which if people listening aren't familiar with, it is the international Star Wars costuming group that is authorized by Lucasfilm to do licensed appearances. We do hospital visits. We do big events, Make-A-Wish, stuff like that. So I am one of their Princess Leias, which is really special. And then echoing off of what Pete said, Kim Wexler from Better Call Saul has been nothing short of an inspiration to me going into my big girl job, which is I work in a civil rights law firm as a paralegal.
Awesome.
So
Beautiful.
yeah.
Very cool. You two are a blasty blast. Glad you found each other. I love that note of finding your soulmate there. And thank you for using the word serendipitous, one of my all-time favorites, and just
It's a good
grateful
word.
that it's appeared in the pod tonight. Yeah.
Kris, I love it every time we get a pair of soulmates on this show. And this isn't even the first
love.
pair of cosplay soulmates we've had on the show.
It's true.
Shout out to Amanda and Brendan. We love you wherever you are and at all times.
I'm already conceptualizing a niche draft episode. We're going to get this foursome together.
Yeah, this won't be the last time we talk about cosplay, for sure.
Yeah.
But to wrap up this personal connection section, I'm so glad it's the two of you who are here with us, because I think this art of performance, the community that you build through performance, like, I am not a performer like the three of you. However, the time I spent in drama club in high school, I still think of like the power of those relationships.
Oh, yeah.
And even just the joy I felt hopping back into a Zoom window to chat with both of you after we got to go through performances and rehearsals together for Severance. It's a special bond. And the X-Files itself, it's kind of the mother of modern day fandom. Like, those were the message boards that really like jump-started this machine that, you know, that's grown and changed with the technology. But we wouldn't have it in the way that we do now if not for the X-Files. And this is a show that gave its performers a lot of opportunities to play, try out new parts. We're going to talk about a very inventive episode tonight. But before we get into our X-Files Love Fest, part of our identity at Media Lit is we always have to challenge everyone to try to identify at least one small flaw in this thing that they love. So you both have come to love the X-Files. But what is a small flaw in the X-Files? Pete, I'm going to go to you first on this one.
I know what he's going to say, so I was hoping you were
so we
Yeah.
were just talking about this last night, and it's, you know, the episode title better than the episode titles better than I do. But the episode we were watching last night, it was Mulder and them hinting at the fact that his sister might actually have been killed by a serial killer in California. And at that point, I was kind of like, okay, you know, we've jumped back and forth throughout the series. Okay, you know, Mulder's whole driving force throughout the series is finding his sister.
Yeah.
And that's what cigarette smoking man has always talked about, like, and manipulated him with everything. But it started getting to a point in the last couple of seasons where it's like, okay, his sister was abducted by aliens. No, the aliens aren't real. None of that exists. Wait a minute. Yes, they do. Hold on. No, they don't. His sister was abducted. No, she wasn't abducted. Then she was abducted. Oh, wait, no, now it's a serial killer. Oh, she's actually dead. So for me, that little storyline, it was kind of getting to the point where I was like, I love almost everything you guys are doing, but this whole like back and forth thing, like there can be like some curveball, but don't like curveball it, then back and then Kurt like that was weird. We were just talking about that last night where I was like, okay, this is just getting to be a little too much back and forth. Like pick a side.
And with such intense emotional stakes as
right.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. It sounds a little soapy. It's almost like they
a
kind of
little
throw
bit
away story integrity, and they said, we're just gonna give you these big emotional swings, and that's how we're gonna create the drama, rather than really being concerned with.
Right. The aliens actually put her brain into the cigarette smoking man. Kind of,
And then whatever they say, Mulder is just like, like with the aliens, his whole life he's gone through believing thoroughly that his sister was abducted by aliens. And then in this last episode, the slightest suggestion that it might have been this serial killer who killed 26 other kids out in California, that slightest suggestion, he's just like gung-ho about it. Like, I'm going to find my sister, dead or alive, I don't care. She's here with this guy. And it's like, you just gave up like your whole life of believing in this, all because it was a weird episode for me.
Interesting. Great call out.
Yeah. Xandra, how about you? What's your answer to the cruelest question on Media Lit?
For me, I think I could mention a lot of shows that have done it a lot worse. Stranger Things. But I think, the first 5 to 6 seasons of The X-Files are really rock solid. I think, you got your bad apple episodes here and there. Like The Field Where I Died. I saw someone refer to that as The Field Where I Died of Boredom, which is accurate. But, it really knew what it was, and it knew the story that it wanted to tell. And, with X-Files, there are the 2 big categories of episodes. You have the Monster of the Week episodes, which, focus on a story that really probably isn't going to tie in very much to the rest of the series, but features an extraterrestrial or supernatural entity that's kind of a standalone. And then the whole conspiracy arc with Mulder's sister and the cigarette smoking man and all of the government cover-ups and all that fun stuff. So, within those 2 realms, the X-Files really knew in those first couple seasons the story it was telling, the characters it was talking about, and even the filming and music style. I think the music is a huge part of it that doesn't get enough recognition. Mark Snow's score is just incredible. But I feel like starting in season 6 and definitely in season 7 and forward, they kind of are just throwing stuff to see what sticks. And not that it's bad, but it just doesn't feel as focused as it did, and therefore a little less powerful. And I will agree with Pete as well that a big part of that is kind of like this deciding factor of, okay, well, what did happen with Mulder's sister? Are the aliens real, or is it just a cover-up? Like,
that pink.
I feel like it lost that solid track that it was on, for better or for worse.
Happens to the best of them. Supernatural was really solid through 5 seasons. It's questionable how solid it was for the next 8 seasons after that. It happens.
Yeah. So
beautiful.
Okay,
Well,
thank you,
Kris, since I've been stepping on your toes all night, do you want to take us into what we think we know about the X-Files?
Yeah, so please, we've mentioned it before. To the podlings at home, if you're curious about all the things that Randy and I think we know about the X-Files, revisit that episode with Madison from season 1 talking about the X-Files. But we thought we'd both bring one more thing tonight that we're still not totally sure on, that we think we definitely know. And we're hoping that our guests can set us straight. Randy, you want to jump in first with your first thought?
Yeah, so, I won't go over everything I revealed on that last episode, but I know I've seen at least all of the first season of the X-Files. I could tell you a little bit about Eugene Toombs. I've watched some episodes for the podcast now. And, we talked a lot with Madison about like the shipping element of the X-Files, Mulder and Scully. And my understanding is despite the definite on-screen chemistry, they never ever get together for real in a real romantic sense. Is that accurate?
It is implied. And we do see moments where they do share intimacy, but there's no wedding, sadly. There's no,
There's no glorious sex scene between the two of them.
Unfortunately not. However, we haven't seen 10 and 11 yet.
So there you go.
Yes.
Might be
from what we understand, there is undeniably implied romance in one of the episodes in 11. Not once, but twice, actually, in that episode. We have not gotten to that point yet.
We're still baby X-Files.
We're still, yes, we're still going through the very first watch through. But
undeniably implied. Doesn't get much hotter than that.
Doesn't get stickier than undeniably implying.
And the biggest thing they do too is I was joking with my friend who right now is rewatching the X-Files, showing it to her kids for the first time. And I was saying to her, I was like, man, I have never seen two people passionately give each other forehead kisses more than these two. I swear. Like, and how close they get to kissing, and then something happens, or we find out it wasn't really the other one. It was someone who was shape-shifting or something.
Small potatoes.
Yeah.
Shout it out.
So many near misses that you just, you just want to see them kiss, that when they finally do, it's like fireworks.
Beautiful.
I think I speak for every MSR, which is an old school X-Files term, which stands for Mulder and Scully romance. I think I speak for every MSR shipper when I say we all felt those fireworks when they did finally kiss.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Love that. Randy, great poll. I think for me, I'm also interested in what I think I know about their relationship, but I'm more concerned about the professional nature of their relationship. Because shout out to my guy, Mitch Pileggi of Supernatural and Sons of Anarchy fame as the iconic Walter Skinner here. And I think what I know about the X-Files is that Skinner is like a hard ass and a skeptic. He's not really here for Mulder's bullshit. And Mulder is constantly putting both his and Scully's careers in a tight spot with his flights of fancy.
So that one is interesting because you definitely get a sense of that in the beginning of the show. So Skinner is definitely a hard ass. He's definitely that no bullshit kind of person. And he puts up that front and continues to put up that front to his superiors. And he'll like yell at them, both of them, because they both, Scully's a little less problematic than Mulder, of course, but they both get into their fair share of issues with their superiors. But like, as much as Skinner will be, like, you can't be doing this. This is ridiculous. I'm going to fire all of you. Mulder will sort of pull them in these later seasons. He'll sort of pull them aside and be like, all right, but, and Skinner's just like,
okay,
I better not know about whatever the hell it is you're about to do.
Okay.
I know I can't stop you from doing it. Just don't tell me. I don't want to know.
Okay.
I'm just going to turn a blind eye to it. Do what you need to do.
Perfect.
He's also very... Oh, sorry.
I was going to say, I was picturing a little bit like Joey Pants in the Bad Boys franchise.
Yeah.
Like, Will Smith is your Mulder character. He's the more unreliable one. And then Scully is your Martin Lawrence. Is kind of how I was picturing it.
Love it.
Yeah, and Skinner is also, he's very, it's honestly very sweet. He's very protective of both of them.
Okay.
Like,
Yes,
even though he doesn't outwardly say it, by his actions of turning that blind eye or giving them, the resources that they need, he really does always have their best interest, and he's always got their back, which is really sweet.
Very cool. I appreciate you both. Thank you.
Well, now that we've been educated on fandom and on the X-Files itself, it's time to dig into tonight's episode. I mentioned earlier We're looking at Season 5, Episode 12, Bad Blood. This is one of those Monster of the Week episodes, and it's also one of the funny ones. Not every episode of X-Files is a funny one, but they do love to do them, and we love to cover them here on Media Lit. So I'm going to hit our guests with a quick recap of what happened. And then at the end, please feel free to critique what I've said. Maybe I left out a key detail. Maybe I oversimplified a more nuanced relationship. Or you can just tell me that I'm a genius, and that's fine too. I will take it all. All right. So here we go. Bad Blood. Mulder and Scully make their way to the small town of Cheney, just outside Dallas, to investigate a string of exsanguinations that really rev Mulder's engines for all things supernatural and unexplainable. The details of their time in Cheney are a bit blurry, but in all versions of events, Mulder is drugged and assaulted before viciously forcing a stake through the heart of a young pizza delivery boy who drugged him. A young pizza delivery boy who may be a real-life vampire. As Mulder faces possible repercussions for his actions, including a hefty lawsuit aimed at the FBI, our two agents compare versions of events to get their stories straight. This becomes a great device for both the agents and their fans to assess the power balance and a lot of unspoken feelings in one of the all-time great television duos. Ultimately, Mulder and Scully return to Cheney when the body of Mulder's victim goes missing. Scully finds herself in the clutches of the sheriff, who turns out to be a vampire. Meanwhile, Mulder finds himself at the mercy of an RV park full of vampires. Fortunately, these nomadic vampires spare Mulder and Scully in order to maintain a low profile, and Mulder admits to making up the detail about the sheriff's buck teeth. And that is my summary of Bad Blood. Questions, comments, concerns?
Just having watched it, an hour ago?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
a good summary.
Pretty good 2-minute summary. I don't have any complaints with that one.
No. Right on point.
But one small critique for you, sir.
Thank you.
I do fear that in your description of Mulder's excitement for this case, perhaps you showed some Scully bias, towards Scully's take on the events of the episode.
Because
I love it.
Was right. Scully's take is the correct one.
No,
perhaps.
it's not.
Perhaps.
It is.
Mulder certainly seemed to portray himself slightly more subdued around. I think he left out the yeehaw in his version that she included in her.
Yeehaw! I hope you got your cowboy boots.
Yeah.
That
it's
and
time to jump into the episode as literature.
Nice.
That and the have you noticed this man's shoes are untied?
It's really good.
I don't care to share with you why that matters, but did you notice it?
Well,
so funny.
As Randy mentioned, this is a funny episode, and we clearly all had a blast watching it.
Yeah.
So let's get into it. Let's do the episode as literature, the bread and butter of any classic Media Lit episode. So we'll all go around on this one. Each of the four of us will take a stab at each of these questions. So let's start with to what extent this episode, as Randy mentions, it's funny. To what extent does this conform to or subvert the X-Files format? Given you guys are the experts, I'm curious to go to our guests first. I'll throw it to you, Xandra.
I think it perfectly aligns with, what the X-Files is about. It is, this balance between this heavy, dark material, like the conspiracy and everything that happens with Mulder's sister and Scully's, search for that in herself of what is true, what should she believe. So it is really nice when these lighthearted, funny episodes pop up, and this is not the first one that comes up. We also have two of my favorite episodes were the Coprophages and Jose Chung's From Outer Space in season 3. But I think that this is definitely the creme de la creme of the funny episodes. You just get a little bit of everything. You get a fun monster. You get the Mulder and Scully dynamic times 2 because, you get to see like these caricatured versions of them when they're telling each other's side of the story. And I can't tell you how many times when we've been watching it that Pete and I will turn to each other and be like, "Oh, that wasn't in the script." They added that in, especially the part when Mulder's on the bed laughing maniacally.
Maniacally, as it says in the subtitle.
Mhm.
Yes, definitely an actor choice, right? Performance choice.
Yeah, and I think I think it fits very well along with the rest of the X-Files, and I also think like your previous X-File had said, that it's a great one to watch if, you're just getting into the show. It'll definitely hook you. At the very least, you'll want to know more about these two and what kind of trouble they're getting into together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, love that. Great breakdown. What do you think? Are you in agreement?
Yeah, I mean it definitely what is nice about the X-Files is when they take breaks between a lot of the heavier stuff and just go completely random and go completely wild with an episode. Not because they need to, just because they want to. And just, especially knowing and watching a lot of, Vince Gilligan's work and all of that kind of stuff. It's very much his style, not necessarily take a whole episode and do something completely random with it, but just taking something really serious and just sort of making it funny for a minute.
Yeah.
And what we see with that, with just that episode format going from, all of that heavy stuff that we're talking about, like Mulder and his sister, and especially sprinkle in episodes with the cigarette man as he was the one who assassinated JFK and did all that kind of stuff. And then boom, we'll throw something like Bad Blood up on the screen. And just, I mean, it's fun. It adds something to where, you start watching it thinking like, oh, we're going to see a continuation of this other crazy stuff that we just watched. Yeah. And then you get Jose Chunks from Outer Space or Bad Blood. And it totally throws you because you're not expecting when Bad Blood comes up on the screen, when you first start watching it after the previous episode, and all of a sudden Mulder just stabs this guy right in the chest. And they pull the fake vampire fangs off, and you're like, oh, crap. This whole episode's now just about how he's going to be in prison, how, his career is over, the duo might split up. Yeah. And then all of a sudden it just jumps to them in the office, like, really? That's how you're going to describe this whole thing? And then it's just hilarious. It's absolutely hilarious. Yeah. And it throws you for a little bit of a loop because you're not expecting it if you don't already know what you're getting into before you watch it.
Yeah. Matt, you're both getting me so excited to watch more of this show. Randy, anything to add?
Yeah, I just wanted to jump into what Pete said. Like, this episode is largely tongue-in-cheek, but there is nothing tongue-in-cheek about that murder sequence. Like, that is violent. It is brutal. You've got the stake and the rock for the extra pressure in the attack. And yeah, that shift to Mulder being the one executing this violence is pretty shocking. But I'll keep the rest of my answer short and sweet because I already snuck it into my synopsis. Again, I'm not very well versed in the show, but both this episode and Small Potatoes are funny episodes that use that humor as a vehicle to let us see their vulnerabilities of the character. And that's just great writing. So I think that's all I have to say for now. We're going to do a whole episode on why that's so great. How about you, Kris?
Yeah, no, nothing to add. This definitely felt like what I imagined an X-Files episode to be. It fell right in line with what we saw in Small Potatoes. So yeah, it wasn't like jarring for me after, having certain expectations. This felt like an X-Files episode.
Yeah. Well, the next question is the one we clearly want to talk about the most. I'm going to go to Xandra on this one first, because just like the indignance that anyone would have another answer to this question was clear in your face. But whose version of events is closer to the truth, Xandra, and why?
I mean, I think it's pretty obvious how I feel, but Scully's, of course, because it's not like Mulder has ever blown anything out of proportion, right? It's not like he ever can find, a supernatural explanation for everything, right? Now, while, her skepticism can weigh her down sometimes, ultimately in the end, it is still, this guy was a killer and he was dangerous and he was poisoning people and that had an effect on everything that happened. The chloral hydrate, we don't know how that affected Mulder. Well, maybe he did, run around seeing vampires. And, I think especially in terms of the interactions that were had with Sheriff Hartwell, that Scully's were definitely more factual because he did not have big buck teeth.
No.
Well, the buck teeth may have been an exaggeration, but when Mulder's side of the story really starts to come true is his vantage point when Scully tries to kill why am I blanking on his name now?
Ronnie.
I just watched this. Ronnie.
When
he's trying to kill Ronnie and he's laying there on the floor with perfect line of sight. If I think about it enough, Scully just walked in from the outside. It was dark. Her eyes were adjusted to the dark. She walks into a lit room. Her eyes aren't going to see that well she's going to be kind of blinded by that light. Similar, like
you would have remembered him leaping like a flying squirrel, though.
Well, because she saw him coming at her, but anyway, your eyes wouldn't adjust that well as soon as the door opens, so she doesn't see where she's aiming, right? I mean, she knows she knows she's aiming at the guy, but if anyone's ever shot a gun before, you can miss. It's a lot easier to miss than people think.
Sure.
And him, from his perspective, already having his eyes adjusted, watched these bullets go right through him and made no effect. And so from there, it's like, okay, well, he really saw this guy get shot in the chest twice.
But he was drugged.
But how would he even know she pulled the trigger? How would he even know that she pulled the trigger twice? He says, I saw those bullets. I saw 2 of your shots go right through him. How would he, if he was drugged and making it all up, he clearly knew that she fired twice at him and then fired 5 shots at the car and hit the tire.
Can't argue with that one.
Looks like we got a vote for Scully. We got a vote for Mulder. How about you, Kris?
I think I need to validate both of your perspectives here because I agree. The way that Scully portrays Mulder in her telling, is it a little characterized? Sure. Right? Is it maybe a little over the top in its description? Maybe. Is it so hard to believe from Mulder? No, it's not. No, it's not. Did he say yeehaw? Perhaps not. But he does jump to conclusions. He does want to see the supernatural everywhere. I highly doubt he was as measured as he seemed to imply he was in his own version of the story, right? So I'm with you. I think throughout a lot of this, we can expect that Scully was seeing things correctly. But I agree with Pete. And I agree, too, that with the leaping of the vampire doesn't necessarily negate his take because we find out Ronnie is, in fact, a vampire. So all the doubt about whether or not these bullets could have really hit him and not killed him and whether or not he really leapfrogged across the whole room is kind of in tandem with the doubt that he is a real vampire, which by the end we have to accept as fact. So I think probably Pete's accurate that at some point Mulder is giving us some accurate details that Scully missed. And I think the science behind ocular adjustment, it vibes for me, Pete.
Yeah. Well, if I have to pick one, I'm going to go with Scully as well.
You would.
She's got an analytical mind, but also it's like the emotional truth that I am leaning on. The amount of hard work that this woman does on behalf of Agent Mulder, episode after episode, autopsy after autopsy, the exhaustion and the frustration she must feel in those sequences. And for her to feel so unappreciated for that, like Mulder's chasing his next big theory, and then she's stuck in the morgue for several hours conducting this autopsy. And just like the way she voices like this lack of appreciation. There's one moment where they meet Luke Wilson's character, and in her version of events, you've got Mulder there like snapping his fingers, like he can't even remember her name. And this is Agent Scully, yeah. This is season 5. I have no idea what your name is. However, I do have maybe the strongest piece of evidence that Mulder's version of events is the most trustworthy. Because in both versions, they're trying to make themselves look pretty good. But even in Mulder's version of events, he tips the pizza delivery boy 2 cents.
Yeah.
He openly admits to tipping only 2 cents on the pizza delivery. Granted, this pizza delivery boy will try to kill him and suck his blood, but he doesn't know that yet. Maybe that's one of the motivating factors.
Yeah.
To be fair, that was also a very expensive pizza.
Well, I was thinking the same.
$12.98 in, what was this, 97? 98? No.
Yeah, I think 98. So some close enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a 2-topping pizza, a 3-topping pizza, right? We're talking about pepperoni, mushrooms, and green peppers.
It was a small pizza, too. It was like a personal pizza.
Yeah, I was thinking the same. Like, the price wasn't so much lower than a modern-day pizza as I was expecting it would be. Right? It wasn't like a $10 pizza.
Well, I mean, those coffins aren't cheap.
Right.
Repeat customers.
And to be fair to Mulder on the tip, he didn't order the pizza. He wasn't necessarily prepared to purchase.
Sure.
Maybe he was sitting on just the $15 or the $13 he had in his wallet.
And also, after that peek we got at his apartment back in Small Potatoes, he's not necessarily the most together man of all time. So it
$26 adjusted for inflation, if you're curious.
It's an expensive pizza.
And it was only like that big. When we see him get it, when they have it laid out on the bed, it looks like it's actually a bigger pizza than when they actually handed it to him.
Yeah.
And do we think the cost of living in Cheney, Texas at the time was so high that they'd have expensive pizza? Somehow I doubt that.
Right.
Yeah. Less than 400 people? Come on, guys.
Yeah.
They've got to cover the drugs, I guess.
Yeah, all the roofies. Excellent. Okay, so I think we're in agreement here. We're leaning Scully. We're leaning Scully with some room for Mulder's take on certain details. Let's get into the comedy of it all. I want to talk about who brings like the strongest comedic chops to the episode. Pete, I'm going to go to you first on this one. What do you think?
Oh, it's Mulder for sure.
Yeah.
It's Mulder and this is going to totally go against my previous argument, but yes, he does have, I'm not going to say over exaggerate the details, but he tells it in a way that like most people wouldn't tell a story. Most people are very, this happened, versus the way that he tells it with the embellishments that he throws on there from his own inner dialogue, what he was thinking and processing at the time. He throws that into the story, and his own inner dialogue is just hilarious. When he has his retelling of it. Of course, Scully's is much more just very factual, to the point. No emotion, well, some emotion, but not nearly as much as Mulder throws into it. And it's very by the book. It's very ordered and neat. And there's also a lot of comedy in that, because you see, the crazy, wild telling of the same story. And if you look at the facts of both stories, they're pretty much the same. It all just comes down to, like, Mulder explained more about some part of it, where Scully was like, I didn't really feel the same way. But really everything comes down to the same story at the end of the day. But with the way that Mulder tells it, it seems so much grander than it really is. And that's where the arguments between the two of them come down.
Yes.
And I think that banter back and forth is what's also really funny. You get to see that very ordered and skeptical character going up against wild ideas, all coming together. So.
Great take. Love that. Do you agree, disagree, Xandra? What do you think?
I 100% agree.
Yeah.
So while I love portraying Scully, when it comes down to who's my favorite in the X-Files, it's absolutely Mulder. It is 100% Mulder. We are Team Mulder in this house for sure. Love them both. It's a hard decision because they do both add so much to the entire show, but ultimately I'm a Mulder girl, and
Nice.
I think especially in these comedic episodes, I mean, going back to Small Potatoes very briefly, that has one of my favorite Mulder moments of all time when he's looking in the mirror. Is you looking at me? Well, I don't see anybody else here, so I think you're looking at me. It's just when we get to see David Duchovny do silly comedy, it's just so
Yeah.
fun. And we get so many of those goofy moments in this episode. And what's so great about his comedy is even if he is being so silly and over the top, it always feels earnest. It always
Mhm.
feels genuine. You don't question for a second, that when he's, drugged and writhing on the ground, Tucker, you shut your mouth.
Shaft.
Yeah, it's so funny. And
Gosh.
it's so, so funny. And then when we do get to see his over the top, yes, and all of his funny moments in this episode, I really think he shines in the comedic department. And when he's holding on to the RV, there are just too many moments that that crack me up that we quote constantly. And the majority of them come from Mulder. So I'm 100% in agreement.
Yes. No, I
Right.
wanted to add too, because we just watching it, when he's trying to explain in the beginning their whole story, and he pulls out the slide projector, and Scully's just like, cows, what do we, you want to see photos? I've got photos, check it out, 6 of them. And he just like goes just one after another. It reminds me of the ShamWow guy. Just like, you see that stain right there? Boom. No, you don't. You sure about that? Cool. Check it out. See, no more stains. Camera guy, you getting this? And it had that that pacing of almost just like I'm watching an infomercial from one of
snappy
those
sales
crazy
presentation.
infomercial guys.
Yeah, that is awesome.
You want to
That's
tell him your theory?
Yeah.
Yeah, really, really good. Excellent take. I agree. Randy, we got 2 votes for Mulder here. What are your thoughts?
So listen, Mulder going full tilt over the top. He is hilarious. It's undeniable, especially the full excitement as Pete just outlined. But I also do want to shout out Gillian Anderson here just for often playing the straight person in these comedy bits and just the incredible eye work and face work, all the little looks she gives, whether it's the first time she pulls out the fake fangs and this just incredulous expression on her face as she looks over at Mulder. All these little winks and nods and expressions. At one point, she's just doing this yada yada, eye rolling, head shaking thing while Mulder goes through his whole history of vampires. And then I mentioned it earlier, but I feel for her so much when he sends her out for another autopsy. And she's like, "What am I looking for?" And he's like, "I don't know. I don't care. You don't get to eat dinner. We're back out there." The pain, the boredom on her face as she casually, drops entrails onto a scale is worth noting here. Kris, how about for you?
Love that. Yeah, good shout out for Scully. I agree that her physical comedy during both those autopsy sequences, even the first one before she's additionally exasperated by Mulder,
Mhm.
she's just she already yada yadas the weighing out of the intestines.
Yeah.
She's not going to say that the tissue appears healthy one more time. And that's her telling of the story, which I love that, even in her telling, she's an exasperated, slightly bored person performing these autopsies. I think you guys are really all nailing it. Mulder's hilarious, and you can see Duchovny relishes playing both versions of his character. When he gets to be that sillier version that Scully is portraying, he digs it, giggling maniacally on the bed. He's having so much fun. Even he's incredulous when she suggests the satanic cult. He scoffs at her like she's the one with insane theories. Satanic cult. But the person I want to celebrate truly, listen, it's probably Mulder's the right answer, but I would like to take this opportunity to shout out Luke Wilson. making a great
Yes.
guest spot here. He's not Luke Wilson to general audiences yet at this time, but he will become a known entity. And maybe it's some of knowing that known entity and the kind of just like dryness he can bring to heavily comedic situations, like a film like Old School, for instance, right? Immerse him in that absurdity, and he plays that dry straight man so well. And so I think he too was bringing a lot to his sequences, being the like slightly reserved. He wasn't quite playing up like a hillbilly, even when he put in the teeth and he had more of a oh golly shucks accent going.
Yeah.
He still was playing it like just straight enough that I found him really funny throughout and really strong for both actors to play off of Mulder and Scully.
Definitely.
Beautiful. All right. Well, this is Media Lit, and one question we have to ask pretty much every episode is what other popular culture or literature was on your mind while you were watching the episode? Kris, I'm going right back to you today, buddy. What else was on your mind as you watched this episode?
I've mentioned it a couple of times now, but it was impossible for me not to go to Supernatural.
Mhm.
That show for me just looms so large in my cultural memory. My father loves that show. We watch a ton of it together. I've watched the first 5 seasons through probably a couple of times at least, and I've seen all of his episodes several times. And they really nailed the Monster of the Week format as a spiritual sequel series, even to something like X-Files. And so, because that's so much more familiar to me, I know that was inspired by this, but it was impossible not to watch this and think of that. When the episode opens and he's sprinting through the woods, and to that point, that opening chase through the woods, Randy made me think of one of my favorite movies of all time, Wild America. Opens with a much more wholesome daytime lit sprint through some woods, but came to mind pretty immediately.
And right in that era.
Yeah, right.
Pete, how about for you? What other literature or popular culture was on your mind?
It's going to go back to Breaking Bad, of course. A lot of the like moments between the two of them, a lot of whether it's a serious moment or it's a comedic moment. Not as much in Better Call Saul for me, surprisingly. More so with Breaking Bad. It just sort of reminds me a lot of the Jesse and Walt dynamic, where Walt, being that super serious science teacher and everything, all in the right order, and then Jesse just saying something crazy off the wall. There was one moment that episode reminded me of when they're in the RV and the RV's dead. It's the pilot season. And so Walt's talking about like, okay, well, we're going to take this and put this together. We're going to build a battery. So Jesse, what element conducts electricity? And he just looks over and is like, wire. And Walt's just like, no. But also, yes, but there's so many other moments with the two of them throughout the show. Before we get to like season 4, when Walt clearly is a horrible, awful, terrible person. And just that beginning, that pilot season dynamic between the two of them is hilarious. And I think that it's a similar dynamic, I think, between between Scully and Mulder.
Absolutely perfect. Xandra, how about for you? Literature or popular culture on your mind?
I'm going to also agree with Pete, that kind of dynamic with Walt and Jesse in Breaking Bad, especially some of the lines when, he says, your cellmate's nickname is going to be Large Marge. She's going to read a lot of Gertrude Stein. Like, that sounds like something Jesse Pinkman would say, like, yo, your cellmate, her name's going to be Large Marge. She's going to, like, read a lot of Gertrude Stein or some shit. Like, a line, you could so hear him saying that. But the other media I want to bring up is What We Do in the Shadows, because I feel like we, for so long, have had this idea of vampires as they're very refined. We think of Dracula. We think of, elegance and sex appeal. So I love this new take on silly, goofy vampires. And I feel like Bad Blood was kind of one of the starting, one of the first places where we see that, vampires aren't necessarily these dark, brooding creatures. And it's especially funny in Bad Blood when Mulder's like, I think you're right that our guy watched one too many Dracula movies. He just also happens to be a vampire. And,
Yes.
talk about the different types of vampires and how fangs are really just an invention of Bram Stoker. It's not really
Mhm.
as much in the historical texts of vampires. So I think, looking at what we do in the shadows, that absolutely took the idea of funny vampires and ran with it to create one of Pete and Maya's all-time favorite shows. Our dog's name is Nadja, for crying out loud.
Mhm.
I think you can see the early beginnings of that idea coming into pulp culture from the vampire portrayal in Bad Blood.
Love that.
Yeah, absolutely perfect. I've got a few quick ones. This is where I will often find an excuse to bring up The Great Gatsby or Macbeth or something like that. But I'm going to go with some very recent AT&T commercials that have been annoying the hell out of me, starring Luke Wilson. And they seem to be wanting him to just genuinely come across as folksy. And the Wilsons, they are from Texas. It's not totally disingenuous. But yeah, they just kind of have him walking down country roads, like being the everyman. And I can tell I'm supposed to take him seriously, but I can't because I know his comedic chops. So that's all I could think of watching him play like this down home sheriff was really on my mind. Another quick one. Kris, we are still waiting for Doctor Who to find a new streaming partner in the United States so we can continue our Doctor Who coverage. But our guy, David Tennant, as the Doctor, I won't give you too many spoilers, but there's an episode where he is facing off against an entity, and not unlike Mulder throwing a bag of sunflower seeds that the vampire just has to count, the Doctor will throw down some salt and convince an entity of some kind that I will not reveal to you that they have to count every grain of salt. So it's a very similar stalling tactic we get to see. But the main one is, I was raised on sitcoms. And I know this is a very basic answer, but one sitcom that I really do believe is genuinely great is Everybody Loves Raymond. I watched a lot of this show in the late 90s and early 2000s. And there's a great, neither X-Files nor Everybody Loves Raymond invented this concept, but it was one of the first times I saw this dueling perspective structure to a comedic episode where Ray and Deborah have this disagreement over a new can opener, and they give their different versions of what happened when he got home from work that day. It was really bringing me back to this era and time period. So yeah, lots of great stuff at work here.
Great stuff. I love that. Honorable mention to The Sandlot because, Hamilton Porter is here with us, the babe.
The great Hambino, baby.
Yeah, the great Hambino himself. Excellent. Well, with that, then, let's talk about gags. What was your favorite gag in this episode? It is full of them. Some recurring, some one-offs. Xandra, we'll go to you first.
I've been dreading this question because as we were watching the episode, I was like, how on earth am I going to pick just one moment from this? Because there are
You can
so
shamelessly
many.
smuggle.
We quote this episode so often.
Yeah.
We quote so many things from this so often. I cannot go down the cheese aisle at the grocery store without saying it wasn't even real cream cheese. It was light cream cheese. All the time. Whenever I have a habit of walking slowly and he always tells me to get my little legs moving. Like, it's just so much of this episode we quote. But I think I don't know, because I wonder if Pete's gonna say the same thing, and I don't want to take it from him if it is.
I know what you were talking about, so I mean, you can just share yours.
It has to be when they're in Skinner's office, and she's like, keep emphasizing that that you were drugged. And he's like, no, just stop. Mulder and Scully, I was drugged.
Yes. Yeah, that's really good.
That is so great. And then also the sunflower seed bit is just so funny, especially because this recurring idea that we know Mulder loves sunflower seeds. Like, Pete doesn't even eat sunflower seeds. And yesterday I bought him a bag of sunflower seeds because of Mulder. But just seeing that utilized in such a funny way, kind of going back to what we were talking about with how does this tie in with the rest of the X-Files, is we do get like some continuity of that, like the sunflower seeds, and then saving the day in a way. But definitely the I was drugged. I love, when she's going through her medical jargon about everything that happened to the victim, and he's like, oh, erotic, yeah. You really know your stuff, Dana. Dana? He never even knew your first name. Like, I love that in her version of the story. It was like this deep, passionate moment. And he even used her first name, which, if you've seen even just a handful of X-Files episodes, they don't call each other by their first names, ever. So the fact that she brings that into her story of like this deep, intimate moment, it's just so funny.
Yeah.
And of course, the cream cheese monologue. So I'll keep it to those three. The I was drugged, the Luke Wilson moment with her in the morgue talking about, how erotic it is, and I was drugged.
Great picks.
I've got to say, when she is sitting there going through the stomach contents, and there with the pizza, just pizza, pepperoni, green peppers, mushrooms. Wow, that sounds really good right now. Because to us, we're like, how in the hell can you think that is good in any context of what you're doing?
Yeah.
But of course, to someone who does autopsies all day, it's like, you're always examining stomach contents. It's normal for you, and you've got to eat. So maybe that's what, to someone who does that all day, but I mean, that was just so funny. And then, of course, when she's putting all of the organs and stuff on the scale, and that second time around, the intestine starts falling out, and then just keeps going all the way down to like a slinky going all the way down. Just hilarious with the autopsy scenes. I think the intestine is about as gag can get, and I don't even know if that was something that they planned in the production to have happen. I really hope it wasn't. That it just started doing then just okay.
Chef's kiss.
We'll just keep doing that. Like the I'm so terrible with names and stuff of episodes and whatnot. But one of the episodes when she is going into a supermarket and everyone's terrified of insects.
War of the Coprophages, my favorite.
War of the Coprophages.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a car crash directly behind her through the doors when she's in the supermarket. And that wasn't supposed to happen. That was an actual accident that happened. And she just like hears it. She gets like a little bit startled, but it's more of like a frustration startle. Not that it has anything to do with bad blood, but just like, I really hope that was an accident, is what I'm saying. It would just make it so much better that her reaction to just, as it was happening, like, may as well be Tuesday,
Right. She's super present. She's not at all. It's a performer thrown by that. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, just not phased. Just intestines falling on the ground. That's
Shout out to the props department, because those things looked gaggy, right? They're just a very bright red and smooth, Kris looking. Very, very good. And I'm concerned about the level of chewing. She was like very easily able to identify pizza and all three separate toppings in that pizza. Person was scarfing.
Yeah.
Randy, what is your favorite gag of the episode?
Well, listen, we've covered a lot of my favorites. We covered Mulder singing the Shaft theme song, which was incredible. We've talked about it multiple times, but just that raw energy of the yeehaw, hope you got your cowboy boots, to like really bring us into the energy of this episode. So I'm going to take this moment just to shout out the other coroner who steps in to complete an autopsy. the sheet is sticking straight up in the air due to the stake in the chest, and he just says, "Probable cause of death. Gee, that's a tough one."
Yeah.
Yes.
And then like the follow-up gag to that later with Skinner. No, not bitten, just kind of gnawed upon because they've taken the teeth.
Yeah.
He didn't die. This kid woke up, gnawed upon him, and now he's missing.
Chuck, I do wonder, how do these vampires feed if he is unsuccessful? I don't know. Anyways. Yeah, great stuff. I agree that other tough to shine as doing an autopsy after Scully's done it twice in the same episode, but I agree he brought some chops.
I think maybe they've got a deal going with the coroner, or maybe he's part of the vampire tribe. I don't know.
Perhaps. Yeah, perhaps.
Maybe something there.
Favorite gag for me, I think I mentioned it before, but I really was digging Luke Wilson throughout this episode. I probably would have celebrated things like the intestines. I really was excited to talk about the texture of that and her presence in that scene. But the buck teeth was great when he first appears and Mulder's giving us his take on this guy. Luke Wilson does a great job of not going too cartoonish with those teeth in his mouth. He's still like pretty believable is not maybe the right word because the teeth are insane, but he's like able to deliver his lines pretty well. And you're still buying it. I thought that was a really fun gag throughout. And then in the end, when he talks outright about being charming and, you know, not all vampires are charming, you're like, this guy, really, really good stuff. So I enjoyed his presence throughout.
Beautiful. All right. Well, we had so much stuff to cover, and I've got great news because I'm going to give everyone a chance to share a favorite quote from the episode. It could be something sincere, but it also just might be another excuse to get another gag in here. Pete, let's give you the first crack at this one. What is your favorite quote or shot in this episode?
It's gotta be the random ramblings when he's drugged on the ground. Just, I don't remember all the things that he said off the top of his head. It was more just the tone of his voice. Like he could have been saying anything, in my opinion, but just the way that he was so convinced about whatever it was he was saying. Just like, oh yeah, no, this is, it was that has to be my favorite quote of the show. Is just whatever randomness he was saying while he was drugged out on the floor. Just hilarious.
When those true colors come out.
Yeah.
Xandra, how about for you, a top quote or shot?
Again, that is so hard. But I think I've got to go with the post-autopsy Scully monologue. It's so iconic. I've recorded it and posted it twice because I love it so much. And everybody else who sees it says the exact same thing. We all love it so much, especially because one of my favorite things to do with Scully is her voice. And you might think, oh, she doesn't have an accent or anything like that. But Gillian Anderson has some very interesting pronunciations in the way she talks. And so to hear her say phrases like real cream cheese, like it's just wasn't even real cream cheese. It was light cream cheese. Like it's just so funny to hear her say those words, autopsy, you know?
Yep.
What do you mean you want me to do another autopsy? Like it's just, and we see her get so just, she's so fired up about having to do this again. Like Randy said, like she is just being put through the ringer so Mulder can investigate these people in Texas. And all she wants to do is just eat her pizza that she found the contents of in the guy's stomach. Like just let her eat and enjoy the magic fingers on the bed. But, you know, she gets to go on this whole crash out monologue. And then just after all that, what the hell happened to you? Like, it's just chef's kiss.
Yeah.
We love it.
And she does almost do like an old-timey mid-Atlantic accent, almost. And there's like something almost Holly Hunter about those S's. Yeah, you're onto something there for sure.
Well, she actually grew up when she was a teenager in England. So my guess is it's a little bit of that British influence coming in, not unlike the mid-Atlantic accent, you know? So, no, she really does. And when I point that out to people, they're like, no, she doesn't. And then they rewatch it and they're like, oh, actually, she kind of does.
I love that analysis.
Yeah, that's my guess as to why. So.
Very cool.
And in addition to the humor, you get and I did it all for you, Mulder.
Do it all for you, Mulder. Yeah.
And she really does.
She
really does.
She would go to Mars and back for him. Even though he frustrates her, she adores him. She adores him.
Well, and speaking about her pronunciation, don't forget her best pronunciation yet, I think, in the X-Files, Gramge.
The Gramge. The heart weighs
300 hearts, 340 grams.
340 grams.
Didn't even try. It just.
Oh, and the incisors.
Incisors.
You may file down his incisors.
Yeah.
Perfection.
So
This is the joy I experience when I get to podcast with voice actors. I just kind of sit back. I learn something new. It's a beautiful thing. Kris Ingersoll, a favorite quote or shot from the episode?
Yeah, it's a quote and a shot. They go hand in hand. And It's like right at the top. The first note that I took was that I love this episode opens on the word help. It's the first thing you hear. Somebody screaming, help. And then you get this really dynamic chase sequence through the woods. It gets you on the edge of your seat from the moment this episode begins. We're in the thick of things. And when it culminates and, he's calling this guy, he's crazy. This guy's trying to hurt me. You can hear the fear in this young man's voice. I was beginning to recognize glimpses of the great Hambino from The Sandlot as Ronnie here. But his voice was like unrecognizable to me as a 19-year-old man. So I'm listening to this guy who sounds panicked. He's terrified. And when it's Mulder's face that looms into the light after the stake in the heart, I didn't know what kind of a show we were off to this episode. So that whole opening sequence, the opening scream, the first thing you hear is help. And then we're running. It's deep blue, almost no details. It's all like silhouette and deep blues of night. And it was totally beautiful. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, tropes can be your friend. Like we start in the middle of the action there.
Yeah.
And then we instantly just get like a good old-fashioned ticking clock. Like we've got to meet with Skinner in 1 hour. That always works for me. It always heightens the stakes. It explains the sort of harried rehashing of the story. But still with like these nice interludes between them. Like at one point, Scully gives just the greatest smile ever to Mulder as he looks her in the face. You feel that intimacy for sure. Another phenomenal pick. I'm going to go with Mulder's version of events. We know he gets that glint in his eye when he talks about the supernatural. While we know it's a little exaggerated, it's easy to believe Scully's version of events. But I got such a kick out of him trying to reframe it in his telling of the story, where he is being like so reasonable and respectful of Scully's perspective. I don't want to jump to any hasty conclusions, but on the strength of the evidence we have here, I think that we may be looking at what appears to be a series of vampire or vampire-like attacks. Just so calm, cool, collect. And it's just nice try, Mulder. We know you were never that chill about it.
Right.
We know you love to get that glint in the eye. You love to see her reaction when she's not picking up what you're throwing down. But it also maybe showed a little self-awareness, because there is a layer of apology baked into this episode as well. So that's going to be it for me.
I love that. Well, listen, if you're going to walk it back and lie so much, it means
Yeah.
Like you are self-aware enough to know what you actually sound like in those moments. Great stuff. Well, I think we've pretty well done it. I don't think we've left anything on the table here. Normally we do a little cleanup section, so I want to throw it out there. Is there anything that anybody thinks that they missed, they were desperate to highlight from this episode that none of our questions were able to cover? If not, we can move into our extra credit section. But please tell me, my resident Mulder and Scully, anything you want to jump in with?
I think that the ghost RV driving around in circles was hilarious. And I think that Luke Wilson's character, after they try shooting out the tires and Mulder's just looking at it and he starts kind of walking up and Luke Wilson's like, oh yeah, I kind of think I see what you're going with this. And what's funny is I have no idea what the intent was behind it, but I'm picturing that Luke Wilson thought it through and was thinking like, oh yeah, he'll jump up like on the back of it. There's going to be a sunroof or something. He'll jump in and turn the key off on the ignition. But then that's totally not what happens, because that's what I think. I'm thinking, oh, he's going to just jump in. It's not going that quickly. I mean, it's not unfeasible to, jump on the back of the ladder or whatever, get on the roof and pop down, pull the key out. But then he's just there being dragged the whole time. And that was just hilarious, because I do think that even Luke Wilson was thinking more ahead than what Mulder was.
Yes.
Of just, I'm just going to hold on and see what happens. Or maybe the goal was that he was going to jump on it and then slipped, but we never saw that happen. We just see it cut to him being dragged by the RV. So that one was absolutely hilarious.
Yeah, really fun.
I too want to highlight Gillian Anderson's little expressions that she makes, especially during Mulder's telling, like when he's going off on the vampire lore and she's just in the background yawning, and then even Luke Wilson with that as well. Whatever she said, that's what I think. And just, I think all the little nuances in this episode really make it something special. Like even after completing the first autopsy, I checked into the Davy Crockett Motor Lodge. It was actually the Sam Houston Motor Lodge.
Yeah.
Sam Houston Motor Court, Scully.
You know what, Mulder? But
two different tall tale type characters, real life people with tall tales attached.
So funny.
I wasn't going to say anything here, but I realized I forgot to write in my notes. I've got to quickly shout out Mulder attempting to arrest Ronnie from inside of his vampire's coffin, cuffing the coffin door shut, and then riding it like a mechanical bull as the vampires approach. So just shout out to that physical comedy.
Yes.
But I think we can move on to the extra credit section. What do you think, Kris?
Yeah, I'm aligned. I don't think I have anything left to say that you all didn't brilliantly state already. So we're going to jump in here. This is our temperature check. This is a throwback from our previous X-Files episode. This is where we got to rank our characters in terms of hotness.
Yes.
So on the table, we have Mulder and Scully. Mulder individually, Scully individually, and them. So I want to clarify, when I say Mulder and Scully, I mean them together as a coupled persons. And then there's Mulder and Scully apart. Different from them, separate, Mulder individual, Scully individual. Then there's Mulder and Scully apart and Mulder and Scully together.
Yeah, like the very notion of these two being kept in arm's length from each other, is that actually hotter than them being together?
Randy, can you walk us through your take here?
Yeah, I'm going to throw in a vote for Mulder and Scully apart, for the sense that as much as I love the stolen glances and the near kisses, you feel that tension between them the most when they are at an arm's length. So whether it is Mulder looking on longingly as Scully seduces a sheriff by describing hematodipsia, the consumption of blood causing arousal, and then listing off other medical conditions that might be confused with vampirism, or whether that is Mulder having a moment of growth and attempting to give Scully a moment alone with her hot sheriff. An olive branch, if you will. It's a nice gesture, but it's also one of those moments that makes you want to see them drawn back together. So that's going to be at the top of my list. I mean, I've got to put Scully and Mulder together right after that. Now, I'm going to go... Okay, so Mulder and Scully apart is number one. Then we're going to go Scully, then Mulder and Scully together. And then Mulder himself, a beautiful man, that David Duchovny.
Right.
But technically he falls the lowest down my list.
Fair. Telling the truth of yourself.
Yeah.
All right. We're going to go to you next there, Xandra. What do you think?
I'm going to put Mulder at the top because I love him. He is not like, I mean, for me, what I find most attractive in anyone is someone who can be goofy and silly. Like, if you could be the most attractive person in the world, but if you can make me barrel over laughing, you just got 10 times hotter. Hence why Steve Martin is my number one celebrity crush.
Beautiful.
So, and the same with my wonderful husband too. You are so hilarious. But I mean, I think, good looks included, but also aside, Mulder as a character is just very charming. His passion for what he believes in, his determination to get to that, no matter how many people ridicule him or belittle him or doubt him, he just constantly is moving forward with that passion. And I think that's very, very hot. I'm gonna have to agree with Randy. I think the Mulder and Scully apart is actually, is very, very hot because, again, it's that sexual tension, like when Mulder has, an old flame that's in town helping him, and you can just see the rage that Scully has, but she'll never say it, she'll never confront it, but ooh, does she hate when he's with another woman in any capacity.
Bambi.
But yeah. But yeah, her name is Bambi. But just that, playing hard to get on both of their ends. And then I'm gonna have to agree with Randy as well. Right under that is them together, because they do both have that passion and that history together. They understand each other more than anybody else in their lives. They are on this whole entirely different level of getting each other and how one another ticks. And I think that translates very nicely into, them as a couple. And then lastly, I'm going to put Scully, not because I don't think Gillian Anderson is stunning and not because I don't find women very stunning, but because so many people say that I look like her, I don't want to be like, she's the hottest, because that would make me sound like an egotistical maniac. But
it does feel you're obligated to put her last. It does feel in good taste. Something of an obligation there.
So, yes, that's my ranking. Mulder and Scully apart, Mulder and Scully together, and then Scully.
Very good. I like it. Following your logic. Pete, what about you?
I've got to put Mulder and Scully apart at the top for a lot of the same reasons that Randy was saying, just that tension between the two of them. And like Xandra was saying, what's so funny whenever Mulder is with another woman is we know his character, he's a man whore, right? And so Scully has never made any real advances towards him, at least up until this point. And so it's always just funny to watch when he's with somebody else to see her get that upset. And it's like, well, you have to laugh because Scully, you've never made any effort to try and be with him. You've never even made suggestions at all. Yet you get so defensive and you get so upset. And it's like, if you want him that bad, just go for it. He's not going to say no. Like, I mean, even he's sort of, they both flirted with each other, but I think that he's flirted with her more and kind of put the ball in her court more. And she just doesn't really do anything with it, which is kind of funny when then she gets so upset when he's with someone else. So I've got to put that back and forth and just
beautiful,
just the comedy between the two of them. I got to put that at the top. It's a tough one because number two, I think number two would be them together as well. Just because there are some moments where you see them, they're not quite together, but they're almost together. They're almost there. And when they are that close and they're almost together, there's such powerful moments between the two of them that it's like, okay, nothing is off the table. They can accomplish anything. What secrets are they going to uncover? Like, they'll take it all the way down to the Earth's core if they have to. And in the movie, they practically do. And then it's got to be Mulder by himself just because of the physical comedy and his very monotone delivery of even what should be some of the most important lines, like if he's in trouble, he's about to get shot or whatever. Just the way that he just delivers it so just monotone is hilarious. And then unfortunately Scully, I think, is at the bottom. Not by a long margin, not by a far margin. For me, comedy is I think in that show, you need the comedy to balance out the seriousness of everything. And while Scully does have a lot of that physical comedy, I think that goes to Mulder for sure. And the line delivery just is perfect.
So you think he's hotter than her in that regard?
Yes.
Fair.
Yes.
Nice.
Love that. Yeah.
Pete, maybe you should have, by Xandra's logic, said Scully number 1. I'm just saying.
Yeah. No, it's
Forget everything. Hold on. I got to go back and looking at the script of the show again at Bad Blood. I'm just gonna put. I gotta change it all. It's Scully on top for sure. That's
good answer.
That's number 1.
Wow,
I don't. Who else are we talking about? Are there other characters in the show? I forgot. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you can't even see past
Only
it.
eyes for Scully. Love that. Okay, for me, I think I'm pretty aligned with you guys. Mulder and Scully apart. As hot as it gets, the tension there, everything you all said, absolutely, I triple cosign. I'm going to put Scully next, much like Randy. There's like the truth of who I am as a person. If I'm comparing her and Mulder, I'm looking to look at Scully more frequently. But it is with Pete's ranking in mind that I'm going to go ahead and put Mulder in the 3rd slot here.
Yeah.
Because it's not just the comedic chops from David Duchovny that makes Mulder an interesting character, but it's the passion in this man that I think you highlighted before, Xandra. I believe that's what makes Scully so smitten with him, why she does want to do everything for him. Every time he has a crazy flight of fancy, she is going to do that next autopsy because there's something just so engaging and so attractive about somebody who's so full of passion. Even when they might be off their rocker, but my gosh, do they believe what they believe? And they feel it so deeply. It helps that he's also like gorgeous. So
yes.
All that passion isn't just kookery, because I think if you're not also gorgeous, maybe that's comes across as more kookery, but his good looks buy him a lot of grace. And then all that passion definitely lends to the attractiveness. And lastly, Mulder and Scully together. I'm not certain that they even actually work as like a long-term couple. I'm sure the one steamy scene would be lovely and steamy for all of us who were shipping them for very many years, but what's the payout after that? I'm not certain. I think maybe a lot of the steam does dissipate after that initial release. So yeah, easy to put that last.
Well, I've also just got to shout out David Duchovny as Denise on Twin Peaks.
Yes.
Fun fact. Wait, did I cut off your ranking, Kris?
No.
I just had one of those moments of panic that I cut you off mid-answer. But yeah, so we've ranked the hotness of these characters. We've talked about their love for one another. We've talked about all the deep character depth. But now we've got to send our guests home with a gift bag. As you know, on Media Lit, we always get to take home, hypothetically, a prop from the set of the thing that we just watched. If you listen to our season 1 or season 2 finales, Kris and I love to take people through a visual journey through our individual prop caves full of all the things we've acquired from our podcast episodes. But tonight, we are going to invite our guests first to take a prop from the episode, and then Kris and I will join in the festivities. Xandra, because you put on full Scully cosplay, you easily get to go first, picking your prop.
Thank you.
So what are you taking home from the set of Bad Blood?
What am I taking? That's tough because my immediate go-to is her badge because of course I want Scully's badge. I mean, yeah, I have my fake one, but having the real one, I mean, come on, that would be the coolest thing in the world. But there are so many great things I think ultimately what I would have to pick would be the intestines.
Perfect pick.
Such an iconic moment and so bad blood. You know,
Yep.
just having the intestines in the little scale
I
weighing
was
the
gonna
ground.
say you can have the scale as well. Because you need the
Thank
full
you.
comedic
Yes,
effect.
I
Yeah.
could throw them
Yes.
there.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes,
Yeah.
the
And in fact,
intestines and the scale.
if you want some of those other organs to mix and match for the different seasons,
Love it.
I'm all for that.
Then the morgue organs is my choice.
Beautiful. Pete, how
Morgans.
about for you? What prop are you taking home from the set?
The runaway RV.
Yes.
The runaway RV.
Yes.
Because it's one of those. It's an older RV, and like I've seen them
Mhm.
around before. They're kind of funky looking, but I would have to say, not that this is how it was in the show, but if that was Ronnie's RV, the runaway one with the coffin in it, that would be my choice. Put
Mhm.
Ronnie's coffin in the runaway RV. That's what I'm taking from the set, hands down.
Dude.
And then
Chris-
immediately, no looking the thing over, no mechanical work whatsoever, road tripping it across the country.
And just let adventure ensue. Chris.
Just go. No registration or anything. Like just get it, have the title in hand. As long as I have the title, that's all I need. I'm good. And insurance. Have insurance. But then, just book it across the country in that thing with Ronnie's coffin. Gotta have Ronnie's coffin in the back.
1,000,000%. The reason I
Yes.
keep almost cutting you off, Pete, is I'm just trying to praise you because I was going to say, Chris, I love it when our guests totally understand this game and just nail the assignment. And you both
Yes.
just did that. But Chris, what are you taking? We're in season 3 now. So taking a full room for your prop
Yep.
cave is back on the table once
Totally.
per
Yep.
season, just
Yep,
so you
I know that.
know.
Yep. You guys are too good at this. You both took my answers because the
Yep.
intestines and the scale were number 1 and Ronnie's coffin was number 2. So I thought I was in the clear until you added Ronnie's coffin to your runaway RV. So I'm going to take the fake teeth. Important moment in the episode. We get to see them removed more than once. I'll go with the fake teeth.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, I'm relieved. I was really nervous because I knew I was going last tonight, but I get my number 1 pick. I am going to take the hotel bed with the magic fingers as my prop from the set.
Oh, good choice. Yeah.
Not only do all the bits surrounding the bed and the vibrations of the magic fingers work for me, but when I'm not talking about The Great Gatsby, Chris knows I am talking about my beloved Kurt Vonnegut, my beloved Slaughterhouse-Five, and the magic fingers feature prominently in that novel. The character Billy Pilgrim's doctor is doing a horrible job trying to help him deal with trauma and depression. He tells him to buy a magic fingers device for his bed, go home to take a nap at lunch. And there's this line that says, Billy jiggled as he wept. So I get the X-Files connection and the Slaughterhouse-Five connection out of that. But yeah, so that's going to do it for my prop tonight. Did we do it, Chris?
We did it, bud.
All right. Well, we've made it to the end of this episode of Media Lit. But first and foremost, we've got to thank Pete and Xandra for being here, for bringing their fandom, for bringing the incredible cosplay. I predict we're going to get some extra clicks on this episode of Media Lit just so people can check out the glory of a perfect cosplay. You were both so smart and fun and wonderful. And just on a personal level, like I said at the top, it was so fun to be back in a Zoom meeting with you. We got to do this more often.
Yes, we do.
Yes,
For
absolutely.
sure.
Thank you both for joining us here on Media Lit. It's been great to have you in the classroom with us. Great to meet you both. Excited to chat again in the future. But before we can let you go, you have to have a chance to plug your socials. Tell the folks where they can find you elsewhere in the world. So we'll go to you first, Pete. Where can folks find you on social media or in other work?
So I'm mostly just on Instagram at Peter_D_Rich. And then links to all the other socials are right there in my Instagram. I don't know my other stuff off the top of my head, but there's TikTok and everything. It's all linked right there in the Instagram.
Very, very cool. And Xandra?
For me, mine's easy. I am the Xandra Files on all platforms. So TikTok, Instagram, even YouTube. I'm actually going to be posting a Scully hair tutorial soon, so I'm very excited to release that on YouTube. But yeah, if you're an X-Files fan, I am constantly making new X-Files content and doing line readings and just really having fun with my newfound X-Files and Scully love. So if you are like-minded in that sense, or especially fellow cosplayers, I love connecting with fellow cosplayers, not even just X-Files, but and creatives in general. Give me a follow. I'd love to connect with you, the Xandra Files.
Very, very cool. Make sure you guys follow these folks and keep up with them. You're going to see some great stuff out there.
Yeah. Also, I just want to chime in and encourage folks to check out the You Are podcast and Flip the Script. If you visit the Flip the Script YouTube page, you can catch Xandra P and myself in the table read of Mr., the original Severance pilot script that we've been talking about all episode.
And for more Media Lit, please make sure that you rate and follow the pod. Rate us so other folks can find us. Follow so you get more of us. We have all kinds of good stuff coming up in season 3. More drafts, more fun panels of folks coming to join us. It's going to be a great year, so make sure you're following. If you're looking for us on the socials, we're everywhere. Just plug Media Lit Pod into your favorite web search engine, and you will find us. We're on places like YouTube and Instagram. And some of the other ones that I won't name here, but we're there and you can find us there and we would love to hear from you. Most importantly, though, as Randy mentioned at the top of the episode, the inbox is open. Media Lit doesn't happen without our guests who assign us wonderful homework. And that means you podlings can also assign us homework. If there's a property, a story that you love, a piece of media that has affected you deeply and you want to hear us talk about it, shoot us an email at media.slash.lit@gmail.com, and we would love to explore your ideas.
Absolutely. Kris, thank you for always doing such a great job plugging the show, but I've got to invite you to plug all the great work you have going on beyond the Media Lit. What else do you have going on out there in the world?
Yeah, thank you, buddy. Aside from Media Lit, I'm also the co-host of the Batman by the Numbers podcast on the popbreak.com. We are a once-a-month Batman podcast going deep on all things Dark Knight. We returned to the Batcave in 2026. We're taking a brief hiatus in 2025 to talk Superman. This year, it's all Dark Knight all the time. Look for our January episode. Go back through the backlog because in January, we celebrated Adam West's 66 Batman television show and the great villains that you can find there. This year is going to be all about the Dark Knight in his different eras, and we had to begin at the beginning. So check out Batman by the Numbers on the Pop Break podcast feed. Randy and I have another project over there. Randy, I'm stealing it tonight, and I'm going to plug Odelay.
Thank you.
Sit Back Hansen Appreciation Podcast. Randy has been doing music podcasts with the Pop Break for a few runs now with the great Justin Mancini, the best music podcaster in the game. And they were kind enough to invite me in as their third chair for this go-around. And so I'm learning all about Beck for the first time. Randy is our passionate listener. Beck is one of his favorite artists, and he's inviting Justin and I both to explore this discography and learn all that we can about one of the 90s fantastic alternative darlings.
Beautiful. And I'm your host, Randy Elaine. And if you want to find me on the socials, just find Media Lit first, and you will find me shamelessly attached to all of those accounts, and you can follow me if you'd like as well. I always deeply appreciate it. As Kris mentioned, you can find me on the Pop Break, on Podelay, or guesting on Socially Distanced once in a while. I was doing a lot of Stranger Things coverage recently of the final season, so I got to have a couple nice chats over there. And I guess since Kris talks about Podelay, I just want to remind Media Lit fans that we are pretty deep into our very special community rewatch podcast with our good friend Tyler McCarthy. We are about to enter season 3, and it's proven to be just as much fun as we thought it would. So check us out with our buddy Tyler, checking out a great sitcom. I think that does it for tonight. Thank you all for being here, and we'll see you next time.
Help!